All right. Hello, Tim. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. How about you?
Coming through loud and clear.
Beautiful.
Um, all right. So we're trying to kick off a new shooting podcast because there aren't enough already. But specifically, I feel like there aren't a lot that center kind of on the New Mexico region of the Southwest. Um, we're a sparsely populated area, but I think we have a very exciting and fun shooting culture spanning a couple different disciplines. There's a lot of interesting personalities and characters out here. I personally got started doing practical shooting here, and despite having moved to Utah and coming back in recent years, I really do love the shooting scene here in New Mexico, and it's just been a great experience that has built a lot into my life that has helped me even outside of shooting. And so
Hmm.
I guess that's my impetus for reaching out to you and trying to create a new podcast where we kind of just highlight the activities, the personalities, and the experiences of shooting in and around New Mexico, and basically just have fun, and maybe optimistically some folks who aren't already into shooting can view this podcast, and it can be a funnel into this awesome little family of sports and really social activities. So that's kind of why
Absolutely.
I wanted to create this.
Yeah.
So it would probably be good. Probably a lot of people know who you are. You're a quite decorated shooter, as the wall behind you belies. Um,
This office is a mess, by the way.
um, I don't have quite so many trophies, but the sport is, you could say, still very rewarding to me, and I think it can be rewarding for a lot of people across many dimensions. And so,
Absolutely.
with that, why don't we lead off with you, and why don't you give us a quick introduction of who you are, what shooting is in your life, and we can take it from there.
Yeah. So for those that that do know me, and obviously for many that hopefully don't know me, I'm Tim Herron. So I started shooting in 2010. And very, very quickly found USPSA, which is kind of the discipline I stick to the most. I'm a four division like USPSA Grandmaster, which like in the ranking system, that's kind of the like it's kind of like the black belt of pistol shooting
If you
within
were in
US.
the KKK, you'd be a grand wizard.
Yeah. And I'm also a IDPA master. Don't try to tell too many people. But yeah, IDPA is actually a little bit bigger here than it was where I came from before I moved to New Mexico. But yeah, so primarily USPSA and IDPA. As far as shooting and what it is for me in my life, it obviously started as a hobby. I was at 25, 26 years as a full time automotive mechanic. That's how I raised my kids, and kind of raised and supported a household. But about 2018, I was able to really kind of turn my shooting hobby into a full time career. So since 2018 to now, this is what I do full time. Not podcast, but I teach shooting and I travel the
God
country
help us.
shooting both competitively as well as primarily a coach and an instructor. And I travel all over the country and I teach shooting classes. So some that center around IDPA and USPSA and the shooting sports, and but primarily just like performance based shooting. So, but yeah, it's been really cool. That's actually kind of what drew me to New Mexico. Uh, my longtime girlfriend, who we'd had a kind of a long distance relationship. I lived in New Mexico, or I lived in Kansas City. She lived in Albuquerque, and we decided like, hey, we're tired of the travel. Let's move closer together. And she was adamantly against moving to the Midwest. So, hence, I packed
Too
up and moved
cold.
to New Mexico.
Yeah.
And I lived in Albuquerque for a short time, and then we found property just east of Albuquerque. So I'm about 45 minutes to an hour east, kind of in what they call the East Mountain area, in a little bitty little village or township called Stanley, New Mexico. But I've got 80 acres here. I built a range on the property here, so I do training here at home as well as offer matches. Just finished my first big match last weekend that you were gracious to make an appearance and shoot the match as well, which was a lot of fun. So I plan on doing a lot more of that stuff, and hopefully, helping grow not only the shooting community, but also the training community and stuff as well too. So I love it here. I know a lot of people give New Mexico or give Albuquerque or like a bad rap. Oh, there's the crime, or oh, it's the desert, oh, it's hot. And I'll tell you what, like living 41 years in the Midwest and moving to the desert, like I absolutely love it here. I love the people here. I've met the best of friends through not only just the shooting community, but just in general here in New Mexico as well. So
Yeah, well, great response. I will parrot that and say that pretty much the core of my friend circle has all come from competitive shooting.
mhm.
And that's remained so wherever I've been since having gotten into the sport. So I feel like you
Yeah,
meet really quality, like-minded people, and but besides the sport itself, that's just a life enhancer, which is really awesome. So wow, so you basically committed your life to practical shooting, more or less.
I really
Um,
have. Yeah.
I think it could be fairly said that you might be living the dream. Even you're a professional trainer, a professional shooter. You have a range in your backyard. It's large enough that you can even run matches, let alone do your own practice. So that's
I'll,
really incredible.
Josh, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I do. I mean, I mean, not very many days go by. I don't wake up and still have to like almost pinch myself to be like, God, I can't believe, this is what I get to do. I mean, it's a lot of things that people talk about, like, must be nice. And I was that guy for a long time too. Like, man, someday, and someday, became a reality for me. So we bought the property in like 2019 here. We spent about a year and a half like remodeling the house, and I mean, we totally gutted this place. And so our primary concern was obviously making the house livable and moving in. And then the end of 2022 is when I started pushing dirt around outside and building the range. And the range is like very, very quickly kind of evolved into what I have now. So like right now I've got like three big pistol bays. I've got a big shade structure pavilion there. Tables and outdoor classroom and all kinds of cool stuff. And I've got more plans in the works. A storage Connex box out here, a barn, and a bigger parking area, and adding more bays and things like that as time progresses. But in just a very short amount of time, it's been like truly has been a dream come true, or a dream realized that, and then I get to be on the road all the time too. And a lot of people might know me from Facebook, and they're like, oh, I always hear your horror stories of travel and air travel and things like that. And I'm like, it's not as bad as like I always like to kind of come off a little curmudgeonly, that people can be bad or people could be terrible, amongst travel and things anymore. But I really do love what I do. Like I love being able to, to get on a plane, 5 a.m. on a Friday morning and fly to a destination and put on a really great class for 12 to 13 people and then fly home. And I mean, I get to go see a lot of interesting places and, and be at different ranges across the country and honestly, like extend my shooting family. I mean, I've made the best friends, not even just in New Mexico, but everywhere. And it seems like now when I go and shoot a big match, or I go and teach a class someplace, there's always somebody I know someplace that's very welcoming and open and inviting, and it's been super cool. It really has.
Yeah, there's a lot of good in there, but I've never felt more homicidal than when somebody is being mildly annoying on an airplane early in the morning.
I
So
will
so
agree.
I understand. Everybody should understand your rage posts on Facebook about that sort of thing. So if they've traveled at all, yeah, it's like, oh, this guy is just sniffling quite loudly.
But yep.
Yeah, I think I could get that plastic fork through his neck. Um, well, yeah, well that's great. Yeah, I
So
mean,
what got you
obviously,
involved? What got you
yeah.
involved in
So
shooting?
So obviously, I haven't taken it to the degree that you have, but shooting is a huge part of my life. And I think it's been edifying and super beneficial to me. And it's been a super enjoyable experience for probably 7 or 8 years that I've been doing this. So what got me into this was I grew up in upstate New York, Western New York, and my dad hunted and stuff like that. So occasionally through my childhood, I would shoot a shotgun, once in a while shoot a handgun,
Hmm.
not any sort of regular shooting. Except at Boy Scout camp, I really enjoyed shooting like trap and bullseye rifle and stuff at Boy Scout camp, but I never pursued it.
Right.
in my life, and even at that time, New York would make that pretty difficult. So my first exposure to practical shooting was out here once I moved to New Mexico for my career after finishing college. And just randomly, some of my buddies at work were like, "Hey, why don't you come out to the desert? We're going to shoot some guns." I was like, "Oh, that sounds fun." I generally like guns. And I went out there and they had set up like targets all over the place. They had a table that was full of shotguns, rifles, pistols. And I was like, what is this? I'd only really ever stood and shot at targets, and they're like, well,
Right.
we're going to do like a little course. You're going to pick up the pistol, shoot here, 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 put it back in your holster, grab a shotgun, shoot that. A clay will fly up, you hit that. And then you pick up a rifle and you blast some stuff. And I was like, wow, that's different. I didn't even know that was allowed to run around with a gun. And so I got like a little bit of just, BLM land desert three gun in. And as soon as I did that, I was completely hooked. I was basically like, this is my life now, and
Yep.
started seeking out local matches and stuff like that. Went to a local club called Zia and shot a local three gun probably within a month or two of that first little thing in the desert. Timed out, was absolutely horrible performance wise, but it was still fun. Um, and then fortunately, like I linked up with some other folks who were also newer at the time, and we started to practice and try to get good together. And I just from that point on, I never stopped, and I shot three gun. Um, uh, I don't know if you could say seriously, but I three gun was my focus for several years. When I ended up moving to Utah for a different job for a little while, I really shifted my focus more to USPSA, and I enjoy that versus three gun for several reasons. They both have their pros and cons, and that's a big
Sure.
thing that people like to argue about which one is better, this or that. I think they're both awesome, but even after having moved back to New Mexico now, I'm really just kind of like throwing my effort into USPSA now, and I'm really enjoying that. But yeah, along the way, I've made all of my like closest current friends, and even in the interim, having moved back from Utah in the last couple of years here, I started a new USPSA club
Yeah.
at the Del Norte range, which is north of Albuquerque, just to try to bring kind of a different flavor of match, a little bit more professionally produced match to the area. Not to
Hmm.
besmirch anything else that's around here, but they have various restrictions where you can't like have the match set up the day before or something like that. And
Right.
so in Utah, I wanted people to have like the experience where they show up, they shoot, and all they have to do is tear down at the end. Um, all motivated by the fact that I wanted to create a funnel for folks where they can come have just a really good match experience, not work their butts off, and get more folks into the sport. Because I just think it's so good. Like we've already touched on, you meet high quality people, you have a ton of fun while you're shooting. Um, and for me personally, um, I was never like a kid that did sports or anything. I was kind of
Hmm.
like I had friends, but I was more of like a kind of a loner and stuff like that. But I think having competition to some degree in your life like builds so many positive attributes for you that extend to every single element of your life. And
100%.
finding that even later in my life through shooting has helped me so much to grow and progress
Hmm.
across many different dimensions. And so that's one of the biggest reasons that I've really enjoyed practical shooting.
My big
Um,
thing, like when I first moved here in 2018, like so I came from when I say the Midwest, I lived in Independence, Missouri, in the Kansas City area, and in the Kansas City area, we had, gosh, one, two, three. We had at least like four or five like USPSA clubs within about a 45-minute to hour and a half drive of just about anywhere within the city, right? Which was great. I mean, it was, I don't want to say it was overwhelming, but man, you had your pick of the litter. I mean, I could shoot a USPSA match on a Tuesday night. I could go and shoot another one on a Friday night. I could guarantee go shoot a USPSA match almost every weekend, either a Saturday or a Sunday, or sometimes a Saturday and a Sunday at two different clubs, on every given month. I mean, I could shoot at least three matches a week, um, just about any at any given time, right? Which was great. I moved to New Mexico thinking like, man, I knew there was a shooting scene. I didn't know to like what degree though, and I was a little taken aback that when I moved here, um, there's a lot of IDPA prevalence here, more so than USPSA. So I shot a couple IDPA matches, and it just, I mean, not that I don't like IDPA. I prefer the freedom of USPSA and the problem solving that kind of comes with USPSA a little bit more. But I was a little taken aback that like when I moved here, there really only was kind of one club at the time, like especially in just the Albuquerque area. Like Santa Fe has nothing. So I mean, even people from Santa Fe, they will, they'll drive down 45 minutes to come to Albuquerque to shoot the one club match that we had. And unfortunately, that one club basically kind of works their butts off, and tries to put two matches on a month. And that was the Rio Grande practical shooters there at the city range, which is a great group of guys. And they're
And
super dedicated.
my first USPSA match ever was there, actually.
Yep. Yep, mine too. So, but you had Rio Grande, who also kind of like pulled in or consumed the Caja del Rio club, which I guess used to be someplace else, and they like I don't know years before my existence here, they kind of just combined everything together out at the city range. So it just kind of became then just the Rio Grande practical shooters. But they only had like the two matches a month, which is crazy for a club to do two matches, like every other weekend. I mean, that's a lot of dedicated work for a very small kind of dedicated group of guys to do. And then really the only other alternative you had to like IDPA was the Zia Rifle and Pistol Club, kind of on the south side of town at Zia, private range there, which is a great, it was kind of a great like intro club. And I definitely recommend it to people that are like, they'd like to dip a toe into kind of the shooting sports or just kind of see what it's about, because Zia offers that match for free. I mean, you come up, you show up, you sign on a paper, put yourself on a roster. They put you on a squad, and it helps you kind of get your feet wet a little bit. But in no way, shape, or form did I really ever kind of take that seriously. But I mean, other than like maybe going down to like Las Lunas or up to or to Del Norte to shoot IDPA, that was really all we had as far as USPSA. And it's really cool, like in the short amount of time, to see kind of a changing of the guard, so to speak, with some of the guys that were obviously getting burned out, like managing everything in the city range, and having new people like new blood kind of come in and really want to take the reins and do like a lot of great things for the shooting community. I mean, the matches have gotten better like over the time at the city range. You came back, from Utah, and we're like, dude, I'm grabbing the bull by the horns, and I'm going to create a USPSA club at Del Norte. We had guys that kind of in the East Mountains, that wanted to do things out at the East Mountain Practical Shooters, kind of started a USPSA club out here in Edgewood, out at Founders Ranch. And unfortunately, with kind of things that, kind of died off there at Founders Ranch, we kind of find ourselves, missing a club. That's kind of been one of the big reasons that I wanted to build a range out here, in the East Mountains, and kind of hopefully try to start a USPSA club out here too. And it's here, it is 2024. And now we've got Las Lunas now just announced this year they're going to have a USPSA club too. And now it's like, oh my God, now that you could practically shoot a USPSA match every weekend now in central New Mexico and the Albuquerque area, between three clubs, between your club, the Rio Grande club, and now this new Las Lunas club open up. It's really cool to see. My big
Not,
concern
not
is
practically, literally. Literally, we'll be able to shoot a match every weekend if we
every
want.
single week, which is
And
super cool. And
that is
you have
super
your
cool.
choice, like IDPA or USPSA or a three gun match, or it's so
And
neat
and
to.
soon maybe even two gun at the city range for one weekend.
Yep, they're talking about
Um,
adding PCSL, and I think we've got steel. We have a Steel Challenge Club, which was kind of the first in the Albuquerque area in, oh my gosh, years too, which is great.
so if
It's
you're a
it's
new
neat to
shooter
see
and
the
you're
discipline.
listening to this, yeah, if you're a new shooter and you're listening to this hypothetically, what are all this acronym soup of different sports and stuff we're talking about? Well, basically, you can take your pick at the front. Do you want to shoot one gun, two guns, or three guns? And
Right.
you can get into it from there. I kind of recommend one gun sports for people to get started with. It's just simpler. cheaper, less gear, less to think about, less to go wrong.
Yep.
So
Pistol
the
sports
sports
tend
have,
to be probably the least expensive as far as like level of entry. If you've got
yeah,
a decent, reliable pistol, two magazines, and a belt with a holster, you're ready to go and shoot a pistol sport, whether it be IDPA or USPSA. So, which is good.
100%. Yeah. And so USPSA is United States Practical Shooting Association or something like
Mhm.
that. IDPA is, I don't
International
know.
Defensive Pistol Association. So it's a little
Okay,
more
cool.
defensive pistol minded. So for guys that are like maybe they're on the fence about like competing, like I'm not a gamer kind of guy. I just like to get better with like my carry piece and things like that. Hey, that's great. IDPA is perfect. It's kind of a fairly low round count. It takes a couple of hours on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon or whatever to shoot an IDPA match. You very minimal equipment, and you can shoot your carry gun. Not that you can't in USPSA, but
But IDPA is more like focused around the defensive element.
right. There's a little more of
And
the scenario stages, or a little more based.
yeah,
I'd say a little more strictly based, so to speak, on kind of like defensive scenarios. Like, oh, you're at the
lower round count stages. So maybe if you are running your carrier rig, you'll be okay. More focus on diligence of accuracy, where USPSA really encourages speed and stuff like that.
yep.
So I would say if you only have one or the other in your area and you're interested, just go out and try either one. I don't think it makes a tremendous amount of difference, but so you get the flavor. Tim explained it really well. And if you're wondering,
Absolutely.
well, how do I even find a match? There's a website called practicescore.com. And if you go to that site and search for matches, which is like one of the links in the top corner, you can actually search by region. So you can just zoom the map over to where you are, and see upcoming matches. And usually they're set up so you can sign up for them right from practicescore.com.
Uh-huh.
And so I would encourage people to check that out. You know, I don't think anybody would disagree with the fact that when you show up, even if you have no idea what you're doing, people are going to help you out tremendously.
It's been great to
However,
see. Like at the city range, people come to the city range anyway just to shoot, and they'll kind of see what we're doing, like, in the USPSA club, and then they'll come over and they'll take a look and they'll start asking questions. And like I will say, we've got some of the best representatives of the sport, period, just at our local matches, where we've been like, hey, did you bring your stuff? Well, come on and join us, or, or hang out with us for a little while and just, like, let us explain to you kind of what's going on, and invite them in. And the great thing about having a match now almost every single week is the invitation stays fresh. It's not like, well, maybe next month you can come out and join us. It's like, hey man, next week there's going to be a match at Del Norte, or hey, next week there's going to be a match at Zia, or there's going to be a match back here in 2 weeks. Come and join us. Here's the sign up. Here's the link. Here's the people to talk to. And it's been neat to see the community kind of steadily grow. I would say my only caveat to that is I don't ever feel like, especially considering as big as Albuquerque area is, right? Or Albuquerque, the surrounding metropolis. I mean, we got well over 1 million people in the entire metropolitan area, and we've got, I think we had 35 or 36 shooters yesterday. Like, I'm I'm not going to stop until like our local matches are somewhere north of 50 people, on a week to week basis. That's
yeah,
my goal.
they ought to be. Like when I was in Salt Lake City, local matches there are 100 people. And granted, their metro is about twice as big as ours, so that
Right?
figure of 50 for Albuquerque is, I think, perfect.
Absolutely.
Not only is it fun, not only is it fun to have like a match with more people, more competition, building a larger depth of talent over time, is like it does take work to produce these matches. And
It does.
having a larger pool of people to draw from just helps and prevents burnout for the match directors, the people who come out and help set up, and it just allows us to like raise that performance threshold, or the quality threshold, I guess you would say, of the matches.
Yep.
So yeah, that's again going back to the beginning. That's one of my motivations for doing this podcast, is hopefully showing there's a few friendly faces out there. It's really fun. It's easy to find matches. There's plenty of opportunity to do matches now in New Mexico, central and otherwise. So yeah, you mentioned now we have the Del Norte Club, which you can
Hmm.
search on Practice Score just by searching Del Norte Practical Shooting. There's the Rio Grande Practical Shooting Club, which you can just search RGPSC on Del Norte. So that's all in Albuquerque. Soon there will be the Los Lunas Club is being formed.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they've got. I don't know what their USPSA designation or like their club name is yet.
Right.
But
And
people that
then,
are kind of unfamiliar too, Las Lunas, their club and their range is like almost like right off of the highway. When you go down to Las Lunas off I-25 too, it's an easy drive. Obviously it's what 20 minutes south of the city kind of thing, which is really cool. Kind of exciting to see even new clubs kind of raise up here too. I have yet to kind of determine what a sanctioned club is going to kind of look like out here in the East Mountains out at my place. I'm still kind of working on some specifics and things because with my travel schedule, I'm gone almost every single weekend teaching classes. So I'm looking to be able to like hopefully just kind of have a turnkey operation for like maybe a match director or an assistant match director to come in and kind of help me run things out here too. So, but I'm working on it. So I've got everything in place to be able to do maybe a 4 to 5 stage match out here, where I would kind of do the same thing that you've done. Fortunately, I've got the comfort of kind of my own home where I can come out, throughout the week and set up and build the stages and really build like quality, kind of challenging national level style type stages and things like that for people to really see like what matches or what stage flavors from all over the country might look like, but be able to just show up and be able to shoot and maybe spend 20 minutes after the match up helping tear down and put things away, but like all of the build quality and build time that it takes to put a match, I kind of take that, put it on my shoulders to do and give people another opportunity to shoot as well. So
yeah, so yet another range where we can potentially have a lot of fun coming forward. And we appreciate you opening up your home to do that. It's very cool. I know I had a lot of fun experiencing your pro-am match, which is kind of the details maybe we can talk about in the next episode.
absolutely.
But it's kind of like a different flavor. The rules are slightly different than USPSA or even IDPA, and it puts different kind of pressure on the shooter. So just another fun flavor of practical shooting.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so there's all of those clubs and opportunities in central New Mexico. Even southern New Mexico has a fair number of options. Actually, next weekend for the first time, Joe and I, my one of my good shooting buddies here, we're going to go down and stay in Ross's Airbnb in Ruidoso because there's a Saturday and Sunday match at Alien City Action Shooters in
In Roswell.
Roswell. Yep. And then there's OPSA in Alamogordo. I can't remember. Oh yeah, Otero
I'm doing
Practical
that as
Shooting
well.
Association.
I just
Yep.
signed up for the Alamogordo match, but we're going to do the same thing. I think everybody's kind of going to caravan down. A lot of our close friends from the Albuquerque area are thinking of are planning to caravan down there and shoot the Roswell match on Saturday, and then go over like kind of hop over to Alamogordo and help them set up on their match on Saturday for Sunday, and then we're going to shoot the Sunday match in Alamogordo. So I'm excited for that as well. So
So that's going to be awesome. So we're going to blow out the southern New Mexico guys with all our central shooting
heck
talent,
yeah,
right?
heck
Well, and
yeah.
actually, at your match, I remember a GM came up from the south who I never even was aware of, and I think he got second at your match, and it was
Yep,
cool to see
yep.
him shoot.
Mike Shuroff. I think he
Mike,
shoots.
that's right, yeah.
I think he shoots the Alamogordo area too, and El Paso matches. So he's in the Air Force and part of the Air Force shooting team. So yeah, he's a Carry Optics GM. Gosh, I think I can remember when Mike was like a B or A class guy, and he came up and trained with me. He's trained with some other guys too, and really kind of turned up the heat. As far as his performances, and made GM. I think middle of last year or so, and has been shooting really well. But yeah, he came up for the pro am match last weekend too, and crushed it. Like he did a really really good job too. So yeah, I'm
Yeah, so
looking
it's
forward
it's
to being able to go down now and kind of support their match.
it's really cool to see just talent like that pop up in all sorts of random places.
Absolutely,
Yeah, we're all
absolutely.
scattered around, but it is there, probably regardless of region, which is great. And you guys listening, you all already hear first. You take a Tim Herron class, you become a GM. Just it's guaranteed. Um, it's in the document you sign. I'm pretty sure. Well, anyway, Tim, we're at almost 30 minutes. I think we've covered a lot about who we are, where you can go and get shooting in New Mexico. I think we
Yeah,
might cut it for this,
I think it
and
sounds great.
maybe come back and talk a little bit more about our shooting experiences on the next episode, how we get better, and kind of talk about not so much maybe how you get into this in the beginning of the journey, but the actual journey of like getting good and everything that entails with that.
100%. I know we've been kind of planning on this for for a while. I think we talked about doing this podcast. Gosh, it's probably been 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago now, but I think it's probably been something that's been stirring in your mind for a while. It's something like, for those that kind of know me, like I used to do a podcast with a couple of Idaho guys, Eric Steiner and Kenny Platt, and Kenny also had, he was a host, a guest host for quite a while with the Paracast guys, which are
Oh yeah,
the Utah guys
love
too for a while, and we were
love
pretty
those guys. Love
successful
that
with that.
podcast.
But obviously, as lives kind of grow and expand, unfortunately, the podcast was kind of short lived after a couple of years. So I've been kind of chomping at the bit to have another outlet to be able to share experiences and maybe not even just talk about USPSA IDPA shooting stuff, but just kind of just sit around and meet different guests and like what shooting has done to kind of bring friendships together and I think it's going to be a really cool. I think it's going to be a really cool format for hopefully to be able to share with a lot of New Mexico folks and have them come out and join us at matches and bring national folks in too. But I'm excited where this goes.
Me too. Yeah. Thanks for making the time. And I think one thing we haven't discussed that's quite important is a podcast name.
I
So
know,
I don't know
right?
if you've bounced that around in your head at all,
I,
but I have one,
let me hear it.
and I think we should call this the low port.
The low port. I like it. I like it.
Your favorite, right?
Yeah, always my favorite. For those that
I,
don't know me, I look very very tall online, but I'm actually kind of short stature. I'm like 5'6", so everybody gives me a hard time for being the short guy. But I'm really not as short as everybody I think expects to be for all of the crap that I take from friends and stuff online. But no, I think the low port's a good name. That's awesome.
well, I'm 5'9", but you thanks for making me feel tall, Tim.
I'll do what I can. Do what I can.
All right. I'll see you on the next one, buddy.
Definitely, you too.